Paul said they weren't going to be here. Not seeing John. Has anyone heard from him?
No.
And Jim?
Jim Whitney
Jim
said he'd
Whitney.
be here.
Jim
Said he was
would
gonna be
Yeah.
here.
Okay,
Probably gonna be a little bit late.
okay, but then, is there anyone else that I'm forgetting?
Julie, but she said she might call in.
Okay. She's not a quorum anyway.
Robin's on Zoom.
Robin's on Zoom. So it looks like we have 2, 4, 6, 7 out of 11 people. That's good to go. All right.
That's
All
impressive.
right. We have a quorum. Yeehaw. All right. Max sent out an agenda a couple of days ago. The one adjustment we have already made is just deferring the minutes from last meeting until our next meeting, so we all have a chance to look at them before we approve them. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to change on the agenda? Has everyone seen the agenda, or does anyone need a copy?
Looking for it now. Here we go.
Got it? Okay. Nobody needs a copy? Great. Any changes that anybody else wants to make besides ditching the minutes? Okay. Then we will go on to citizen comments, but there's nobody here.
I used to be a citizen.
You are not a citizen anymore?
Citizen.
No,
Officially
you're,
on here.
okay, so you can't say anything, man.
Can't say anything.
That's it.
That's how you put me on here. So I
That's
can
right.
speak now.
That's exactly what happened. Okay. All right, then what we've got going on are conversation with Barbara Boardman about the Pine Tree Engineering concept. Some updates on the Hofstas house. Max has some information on the UMaine engineering program. And anything new after that? Over to Barbara? Or, I don't know how much you guys have talked.
I mean, we'll do an intro.
Okay.
So last meeting, the committee wanted Barbara to take a look at the concept plan that was discussed last time, just to get her perspective on it. Just give any recommendations. And there's Jim Letney entering the door right now. Hi, Jim. We were just starting. So I gave the concept to Barbara and she's put together some work on it.
Yep.
Some schematic on it.
Great.
Just in my conversation with Rob from Pine Tree Engineering, he's saying we don't need to get exact micromanage details done. This is more of just getting a concept idea to him so he can start actually working on something, the materials, the fencing, anything like that. We can all still work on after this, but he just needs to see in general where we're planning to put things on the capped area. So just some idea as we get into this. So Barbara, did you want to go over your stuff?
Sure. How do we? do
Yeah.
it?
I can do a share.
So it's not like I had a list of things that you guys wanted, but I'm assuming that the capped area has to be capped and that we can do a limited amount. We can do some stuff on the capped area, and I'm just making a bunch of assumptions here. For instance, so some of the things that are going, we want it to feel like a park when you arrive at this place, which I think is great. That concrete area is big, and it'd be nice to break it up. It also would be nice to, I don't know what the limitations are for loading, like if we can create some shade structures or put some planters with actually trees in it, but it's a big area, and these days nobody likes to sit in the sun very long. So we have to kind of deal with that and what what that means. So there may be, I imagine there are different levels of capping that can be done, what the expectations are for what's going to go on top of this. You've got, around basketball courts, you've got to have some fencing and, wind and how that gets attached is, I have no idea. Planters can be, so it may be that we have to come up with a plan that they do certain reinforcement in certain areas of the cap so that the new layers can get accommodated. So these are all kinds of things that were questions for me. I think that the importance of coming into the space, as far as the public goes and thinking about it over time, is that to make it feel more park-like, we want to, the first thing I thought of was, let's put the kids front and center. Let's put a great looking play area and use planters. We've got a change in grade. We can't have people falling off the new cap down to the lower grade. Use planters around the edge with built-in seats that, grandparents or moms and dads can sit around the big play area and watch their kids. And, ideally we'd have some trees. So can you blow that up, Max?
Yeah.
Actually, that's the second slide. So why don't you blow that up? So,
And people can go up and see if they want.
yeah, I thought it was going to be here for some reason. Anyway, so my thought was that, this obviously this was the main entrance when it was Sylvania. There also seems to be a gap somewhere in the middle here where it looks like it was to the front door. So it's very little grade change, which is kind of nice. So if we continue with, I think it makes sense totally to keep the same entrance. But I think we've got enough width here to also do some greenery on the right side between the property boundary and the rest of it, either with trees or low materials. Give them a little bit of protection from the noise, because some plantings will reduce the noise. It's been like rocks or pickleballs or something. It actually gets to a good place. And simple things like right now the parking's like this, making it so it's like this, so that when parents back out, they just run up over their kids. And so there's a lot of things that are kind of extra bones to start with. So coming in, making this an area that's sort of independent of the rest of it, with planters that were set around the perimeter with built-in seats in them that create some shade and some protection for the kids. But this would be a main entrance. We've also, as Max's plan had indicated, this is a great spot for an ADA, because that also brings people into the back parking, including kids with strollers or whatever up here or into the other activity zones. And I don't have exact dimensions. There's not a survey of the property per se.
Land survey? A land survey, or there's a land survey, yeah.
There is. Okay, well, that would be useful. Because it certainly seems like 2 to 3 basketball courts could fit in. And it's because they need to be fenced that already automatically protects you from the grade change. And then pickleball, tennis combinations could be in this area. So again, coming in this way, going to the activities. And then again, what happens is it's going to be hot as heck on these areas. This could be part of the shading strategy, or making it kind of like an initial hike. If you want to do it on, but kids are playing, do a walk around, or a path, an initial path to the property. Can you shrink it back down?
Yeah.
Next. Yeah, there's a wonderful clump of pine trees here. It wouldn't take much actually to make it look quite park-like in places, which is really nice. Yeah, this is really quite lovely. If you go to the other slide next. One of the plans I assumed that Max sent me, the solar was one over here. Because the trees gonna fade create shade twice as much as its height in the winter time. So the more you, since we already have this, with no vegetation here and the trees, we need to have some control of what's happening to the south of the solar panels over time. So maybe snugging these up against the structure more, and so that we can keep this as long or keep this as clear as possible, and you know, as we determine what's going to happen with copses, and that should be part of the plan too, is to make sure that we don't, you know, put an orchard or something on the south side of the solar area. But that was one thought, and then depending on how the solar is stated, oftentimes you see a variation in the posts that are made. It may be that the solar structure itself could create some shade on that side. In other words, maybe we actually have like stadiums sitting here with the basketball courts behind where the solar panels. Maybe that's creating some shade. It's kind of an interesting way of kind of using things in multiple ways that will benefit. You know, we just will, you know, we want to see the utility entrance to the back. But so as a core, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but the some of these things are fairly simple. Like if you notice at Hobson Farm, that trees that they planted along the new road they put into their campground, those were whippets, like not too many years ago, and now they're trees. So some of these ideas with planting trees along the property line or creating some shade in this area, if we don't, you know, if we choose not to do this, you know, there's things that can be done over time and be fairly simply addressed. You want to go back to the slide next? So here's what you can see. So, and I don't know if you already have an idea of like how many, I mean, is this the place where the tennis courts are gonna be, you know, in town, or do you know that kind of thing?
Yeah, I sized it out, pretty much where you have the blue and the green squares. Will fit one basketball court and 2 tennis courts that would include 4 pickleball courts.
And 4 pickleball? Uh-huh.
That takes up the whole green and blue space.
Those would be pickleball courts and tennis courts all at
It's
once.
two
and you
tennis
pay it.
court- It's
Got it.
2 tennis courts and then
They'd have the line.
each one, there would be
Got it,
lines
yeah,
for
yeah.
to have 4 pickleball.
I see.
But it was just basically the size of 2 tennis courts.
And how many basketballs? Did
Just
you say?
Just one, yeah.
And they can share, I mean, with space between them, so. I mean, I don't have any measurements other than, you know, this is 40 meters that was.
Yeah, I didn't bring it. I had one done with all the measurements that it would take up, but yeah, it's. I mean, what I had was very similar, like your blue and green squares with the blue being the basketball and the green being the 2 tennis courts.
And are you thinking the pickleballs, courts have to be fully enclosed too, like would 4 be in one enclosure or?
Yeah, it would all be. I mean, what little bit I thought about it was one big fence going around all of them and then having a divider fence between the basketball and the tennis pickleball.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of parks are set up.
With the same height fence?
Yeah, same
Yeah.
8-foot fence or whatever it is.
So, you know, my first thought was just looking at this as, you know, let's not drive in and immediately see chain link fences, and it just doesn't seem. You know, it's great when it's activated by people playing, but when you're driving at other times, it's kind of like, and so putting the noise and the activity in the park, the cars, they can just come right up here. And keep this more kind of family and kid friendly in the front. It's just what I was thinking would made a lot of sense. But so as far as the next phase for the engineered plan, what specifically do they need to know?
So right now,
And also, can I ask one thing? Does it come over the top of it? Like, is there a wall on the side of the grade change? I mean, comes over and down the side, so we're actually, this actually grows
Are you talking about this bit right here or?
anywhere, here, here.
Yeah, yeah, along there, that's that's a steep drop off, so that's why I had the ramp right there, just because it's.
Yeah, but when they cap and then drop a wall.
Yeah.
So, and how thick is that?
I'm not too sure, so.
Yeah.
And I talked with Rob today just to confirm that. He pretty much just wants the committee to give an idea for the concept for what
What goes
What-
where?
we want to see there.
Mhm.
Something like this would be acceptable. Then as we get into materials and any of the finer, smaller details like where to plant trees or where to put like a raised garden or anything like that, all that is stuff we would still be talking with him about. But right now, he just wants to know, where would parking go? Where would tennis courts go? Where would any vegetation go? Things like
Mhm.
that. That's what he's looking for.
Mhm.
Bob?
I thought we talked about a pavilion and the idea you have regarding the solar panels, raising them. That could create a space for a pavilion and a farmer's market underneath.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We had talked about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think there was some idea of maybe over here in this northern area, just at the back of the parking lot, that could.
That's where I'd put it.
Yeah, that could probably be where it'd be.
Yeah.
And then the solar panels that'd be there would be more than enough to probably power the electricity for that site.
Yeah, I would definitely put it at the back of the parking lot so that people can put out their tables and
Yep.
stuff
And it
and,
creates a.
Yep.
Makes sense.
it creates a destination besides, yeah.
if you put it at the back of the parking lot, that's on an east-west axis. Where you've got the trees would be a better place for the pavilion from a solar perspective because it's facing south.
Down here.
Yes. Where the trees are, there's a line of trees there.
Right.
That's facing south.
Mhm.
Bless you.
Yeah, and that design that Max's solars, I don't have a copy of that, was way over on the house's property, right?
Right.
Yeah, for that plan. I mean, I was just trying to get the combined concepts, what Janet had and what Marcus had, just trying to organize, what can Pine Tree get going to start with over here? And then what could fit elsewhere on the property, like the solar, like rather than trying to cram the solar in over here. Unless we do the pavilion, in that case, solar on the pavilion. But yeah, I wasn't really married to the solar being over here. If it's better to have it over here, that's fine.
The solar or the pavilion?
Solar. Well,
I think the solar where that is, because it makes a nice personally, makes a nice barrier between whatever happens at offices and here, and then just it's like a fence. Why not use that as a visual barrier? This way, open this up, put the pavilion, make the barn. And then also use that as the farmer's market for bringing out your, people like to have their vehicles right near their tables. Perfect.
And the solar is for the pavilion. There's no other purpose for it to be there.
Other lighting or
Correct.
power.
Right.
unless we put other lighting.
Right.
Which that would tie into the UMO item we were gonna have to talk about a bit later, UMO students would be looking at. How they would extend that utility line out to connect to solar or open space pavilion and then lighting and everything like that, so that's later on.
If the solar is to provide power to the area only, then we might want to think in terms of a battery wall. So that at night you have a source for the lights to be lit up. And that battery wall could, I'm sure Barbara could figure out where to put that so that it blends in more or less. It makes sense.
Was the plan to have the place also open at night? I thought it was gonna be a close at night thing like others.
Sunrise and sunset.
Dusk.
Okay.
But I mean, it's an option later on.
I've missed a few meetings, but the last, early on, we talked about no lighting there at all,
Right.
so we didn't want to attract.
Right.
nighttime Activity.
Yeah.
That's how you do attract it, by having no lighting. A bad activity, honestly.
I
I was just gonna say, if we're gonna keep that option open for parking for the adjacent business across the street, don't we want to have some kind of safety lighting out there? Because there are people leaving in the evening down to that parking lot.
When you're saying that, are you saying Because there is a street light, at least along the road, but do you mean specifically over the parking spaces themselves or with the street?
Even if it's just a sole pole down there somewhere that just gives enough light for some safety measurement.
Yeah.
Especially in the winter when it gets dark at 4 o'clock, 4:30. People are bowling.
There had also been some concerns about what that area has come to be used for
Well,
in
it could be-
the night, and having some lighting back there might be
Yeah,
helpful.
we'd also talked about a skating rink in the wintertime.
Mm.
And if you're doing late afternoon or early evening skating, it's gonna be dark. You're gonna want light. So,
Well, streetlight plan is kind of interesting and it could be on, I would think you could do it on a timer.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the people living across from it and near it suddenly dealing with streetlights in their windows all night long. But, yeah, I think would be a nice plan to do. And is it possible that the whole area for the basketballs and the tennis courts could be on a lock that gets locked at certain,
It could be,
like,
yeah, it wasn't to protect that area, just. The original conversation was if we don't have lights, then
right?
people would just be like, okay, we're leaving and.
If we do go with lights, it would be really nice to preserve what a lot of municipalities are doing now with exterior lighting. Just creating, sort of night sky preserves, you have them shrouded properly, directed towards the ground and whatnot. It's really easy. It's not more costly and it would allow us to, accommodate all sorts of night sky events or anything down the road. It's pretty dark out there right now in a good way, and to have a big light dome there would be, I think lights would be smart, but hopefully it doesn't look like a Walmart parking lot.
yeah,
I have a
Maybe
quick
a light
question.
that's
on this.
triggered by a car entering onto the property too. There's something to think about.
Motion sensor.
Yeah, I mean,
That historically disturbs the hell out of people, lights
Yeah.
popping on and off.
yeah,
Because anything.
That's been
but
my
it's something to
experience.
think about. Do you want,
Yeah.
I mean, the people are parking there now could go to bowling. Because I think that you're right. There's already a light near there.
Right, and the streetlights we have now have a solar cell on it, so once it gets dark enough, that's just automatically turn on. There is a smart control option that we could pay for where we just put a new node on it and. From the town office, we can do automatic timers or just control it from the town office. If I want to be very petty with the business, but
Yeah,
They do that in Damascotta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the fireworks, they shut down all the lights when they did the fireworks.
Hmm.
And put it back out. Which is pretty
pretty
cool.
neat.
You do it from your phone.
I have a quick question on that kind of lighting. How high does it go before it becomes as bad as having a street light? Because I'm thinking snowbanks, they're plowing that.
Well, the shroud is the big thing. They can be high as can be, but they're shrouded and all the light is directed down.
So
So
there's
it can be-
not like a minimum height or something.
So it's the fixture of the light. that
Yep,
surrounds it.
it's essentially a big dome on it, a shade that is projected downward. It's pretty easy. Like you can actually, if they're doing streetlights on your street, you can contact CMP. And they're now very regularly doing them. So people are just trying to minimize light.
That's the question. Do you want people playing basketball at 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night?
As in a butter, what?
Playing pickleball.
Yeah.
Pickleball,
Yeah.
that's a big issue right now in some
It is. It's
communities.
noisy.
Yeah, it's noisy.
People doing stuff will be awesome, but yeah, doing stuff at 2 AM will not be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I was just thinking more along the lines
Yeah.
of safety of that parking lot, but you're right, if there's other stuff going on, we might want some lighting down there.
But that's not something we have to nail down.
Not
To
today.
talk to the engineers about the.
Our
Yeah.
current rec facilities in town lit, and I'd like to get, they're not, yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest that if we build in flexibility, we're gonna be better off than we are being dogmatic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I guess you control it, if you're concerned about light pollution and other things, you control it by setting rules. And encouraging people to abide by them.
Mhm.
Maybe that's not possible, I don't know.
so,
I think it's a great idea, though, providing some light, especially for the bowling alley folks. They've been pretty generous over the years. And to give them some extra parking, especially when they have their winter leagues, would be, I think would be very good. Good neighbor.
would this be
Well-
lighting at 13 closer to the road, or is this And the parking spaces in the back.
No, the ones right by the road.
Okay.
Yeah, right by the kitty area, if you want to call it that.
So as you drive down
Don't we already
Friendship
have
Street,
that?
are you seeing any other streetlights between the village and there? So it's.
I think
like
it
it's on your-
stops just before Sylvania.
There's a street light there.
Yeah.
Oh, right
That's
there.
probably where it stops.
I also
Yeah.
have a map of where all the streetlights are.
Okay.
Everyone's driving at the speed of light.
Yeah, I play pool on Wednesday nights and I often park over there and it's a mess. This project has gotten a little bit more elaborate than what we first talked about, which was to cap it with bent night or something and grow some grass. And I forget who it was, but I saw an email about drainage. We have a lot of impervious areas.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a lot of impervious areas on the site already. And if we're putting asphalt for pickleball courts and the basketball courts and such, how are we going to get drainage without being able to dig in the dirt? That's a question that really has to come right up there. And you mentioned another thing, which was planters.
Mhm.
Planters need to be watered. If you need a spigot, we're going to have to develop a frost-proof water line onto the site so that we can water the plants.
Mhm.
And how much is it going to cost to take care of planters for the next 100 years? We really need to get a consensus here as to whether it's doable, these sorts of things, digging underneath. If you're digging a drainage line, if you're digging a water line, you definitely have to be down 4 feet to prevent it from freezing. Drain lines, I'm not sure how deep they have to go. Certainly if they sloped and they completely drain, I think you can get away with a pretty shallow drain. But I'm not an engineer, so I really don't know. Is the impervious surface that we're talking about adding, is it going to be doable? It has to be level. It cannot be sloped. So there's got to be drainage. Otherwise you'll have puddles everywhere.
Right.
Why can't it be sloped? I mean, it's sloped as much as a court, those, they
Well,
usually have a.
tennis courts, grass tennis courts, are they sloped? Clay tennis courts, are they sloped? Asphalt tennis courts, are they sloped? I don't know.
They are.
They are?
Yeah.
Typically
Not
outside.
Not a lot.
Really minimal.
Okay,
Yeah, really minimal, but enough
Just
that the
very
water will
slight.
drain.
Gotta go.
The,
yeah.
I don't know about the water line, but I know we put drainage in over at the rec fields because we built them in a swamp.
Okay,
They made 6-inch drainage and 12-inch drainage,
Mhm.
and basically you had to have, that had to be 6 inches below the surface. I put in the 12-inch stuff, so we dug down 18 inches and buried it. It's been fantastic.
okay, well,
You could get the 6-inch stuff and only have to dig down 12.
this is
But-
going on top of concrete,
Right,
which we can't disturb.
right.
So you're talking
But we're
about
bringing in,
bringing
bring it
up, just to cover the pipe, is 6 inches a minimum. And then to get some soil on top of the pipe, you're talking about a foot. That's a load of dirt.
What is the thickness of that bent nut cap? Like, what's the spec? There must be like X amount of inches it needs to be. You know,
I don't have anything right now, but, and this kind of ties into a different topic that we were talking last time about getting a type of layer so that it can be vegetated and look nice, but it could also handle overflow parking. There is a type that we can use where it's got a webbing so that grass can grow through it, and it would be strong enough to still handle cars parking over, and it would also drain a lot better than the bentonite layer. So that can be used for a good chunk of it. I can talk to Rob more as, I mean, the drainage is the key thing. I'm gonna tell Rob, this is what we're planning, but drainage is a very important topic. We need to know how it's all gonna be
Right.
done.
Well, where that is all concrete and it's elevated,
Right.
we could use that to our advantage.
Sure.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
the whole property's a hill.
Yeah.
When you do their courts or whatever, that slight bevel, because it's already up. Boy, some places, I think it's up 2 feet, maybe
More than that,
Places
4
4
feet
feet.
places, yeah.
So I mean, we could use that to our advantage
Mhm.
as far as drainage. When I think about it.
Yeah, well, the whole site is sloped and the parking lot has drained to date. I mean,
Correct.
even when Sylvania was there, so.
I'm just talking about the area where the building formerly existed,
Right.
and that's where we're talking about impervious surface for the
Yeah.
pickleball courts and the basketball courts and
Yep.
whatever else. I don't know
I
how,
would, ass-
Yep.
I don't know how it's
assume-
technically doable.
I would assume instead of most of them are usually crowned a little bit, so the water goes off each side. But the way that property is, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept the grade of the parking lot and made it slope just the tiniest bit towards the river. And then everything's running that way. That way it's not running towards the road.
Right.
And puddling between the road and the courts.
Right.
Would
I
make,
don't think
would
we
make
can do
sense to
that.
me, but again, I'm no
Can
engineer.
we penetrate that slab at all? It can't be penetrated. So like, how do you even put up basketball posts? But I don't even get how that happens. They must,
They've said no to that a few times, haven't they? Penetrating the slab.
Penetrating the slab,
Yeah, I
yeah,
have
but
it, so.
we put the other layer on.
That's
and
right.
got it.
Okay, so if we can't penetrate the slab to put up hoops, we can certainly build up a
Yeah.
concrete
Yeah,
platform
yeah,
to put
weights.
them in so that it's all connected, but also if we're not using tennis courts and pickleball courts and basketball courts in the winter, do the drains absolutely have to be below, or can be more of a gutter system?
You can have
During
drainage swales.
season,
You can have
drainage
drainage
goes
swales.
off, and we
But it's
connect
gotta be
somehow
designed into
into
the start.
existing, somehow connect into existing drainage that's there.
It's
Because
just
we're
like a
not gonna
flat
be
roof
in,
on a building. You're gonna
Yeah.
have snow piled up on
Mhm.
top of it, and in the spring it's gonna melt, and then it's gonna
Yeah.
go to the lowest point. You know, it's,
Roads are crowned.
Yeah,
So that the
absolutely.
roads are crowned. It's
Yeah.
possible to do that.
Yep.
But
Swales are the way to do it, though.
Hmm?
Swales are the way to do it,
Yeah.
like you're saying. You just don't have to penetrate the ground for
Yeah.
it. Get a good nimble person in there with excavators and seed it right. Would be-
so can it be? Is it only this concrete slab that is impenetrable, or are there other spots that are impenetrable?
Most of that area is in the restricted area, which is where they do not want us to dig.
Was in the restricted areas, what was surrounded by green
Um,
and one of your earlier plans?
oh, I don't. It's been so long.
Yeah.
I believe. The restricted area is around here. Southwards. I believe,
Southwards.
yeah, I believe
I'd
this,
like a copy of that
yeah, I'll,
plan.
it's in the it's in the covenant, and I can get you that.
Okay.
in a similar vein to what we were just talking about, if we're going to build a pavilion, you have to dig 4 feet in the ground for a frost-proof foundation.
Mhm.
And do you think they'd allow us to drive piles into the ground instead of digging?
Yeah, because there was a separate one when we were talking about disc golf up there. They were fine with that idea, same principle, you test the soil, as long as the soil doesn't have any contaminants, then it's fine. And I think that depends on where we are gonna put it. I mean, if it's over here in the actual building footprint, they're probably gonna say no to that. But, you know, up here was an option. That I believe is outside of that restricted area, so that would probably be accepted.
Yeah, they've tested that area. They years ago, they went and tested that area because there was
This,
reports of dumping.
yes, I remember
And they
that.
determined, yeah,
Uh,
and they
Yes.
determined that there was really nothing of significance dumped there.
So they might be fine if the pavilion's up there. I think even down here, it would just be outside of that restricted area. So those are some potential options.
Yeah, but so the tech screws, we're thinking that those are sort of better than digging a piling?
Yeah.
For support, because they're not really disturbing. They're-
Well, piles don't have to be dug. They can be driven and leave the
Is it less
soil.
expensive to drive a pile in than to dig and create a form and pour it, and go through all that?
It's about a wash.
Is it?
Yeah,
Save them
if
later.
you're driving one pile, it's very expensive because you gotta set it up. If you're driving 100 piles, it's per pile, it's a lot less.
Okay, I love that idea.
Mhm. I'm surprised that's allowed because there's a great deal of concussion. Whatnot, I can't believe they'd allow it, but whatever.
Well, it can be, well, I don't know what the soil conditions are there, but they can be vibrated in.
No, I know, but yeah, the amount of restrictions it's been.
Well, again, I'm saying that it might be allowed, but we'd have to give the plan to DEP, they'll do the testing and then
Right.
go through the steps. I mean, I was asking about disc golf and that was, it's not the same exact thing.
We're talking about digging down and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it sacrilege to put a skating rink on a tennis court in the wintertime?
I don't know.
It's been done.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, we did it at 80
We
grade,
did it 80 grade.
but there was a 12 inch difference
And
in
we will.
slope, so.
Oh,
Yeah. Skating rink has to be level.
Well, close.
Don't rain. It does not rain.
It's level. When they tried to do it at 80 grade, they had 12 inches of water on one side. And so you need 6 inches, so they had to,
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was a lot of water they used.
So Barbara, I have a question.
Yep.
In the back, that kid's spot right here between the parking lots, was that anything specific or was that?
That's playground stuff,
Okay.
different things to do, climb up, walk around, scramble, things
Swing
that are
set.
kind of fun, yeah.
Were you thinking,
Rings, monkey bars.
were you thinking
Right.
more of a natural type playground?
Well,
or
even just,
yeah.
the ground, once this material is down there, I mean, people are doing such great things with, murals and mosaics and,
Yeah.
all kinds of, they could be a huge chalkboard area where they can draw on, it could be, very multifunctional, I would think. But, a place to run off steam and do stuff. Most of that kid stuff can be, I mean, I've actually seen it on a rooftop once where it's not attached to the building per se with posts, but there's all kinds of neat ways to make things work and end up being part of the structure too. So, as I say this, I realize it's sounding expensive, but yeah, just all kids climbing around and running around stuff. And all playgrounds have that material now so nobody hurts themselves, right? So it's kind of,
That's
like recycled,
Like the rubber mold.
The rubber man.
kind of stuff.
yeah, all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
So,
super expensive.
yeah. But, at least it keeps them off the
Yeah,
junk.
I priced it. We're working on a playground for the rec fields and it was as much as the playground itself. Wow. It's like
Yeah.
whatever that area was, 30 by 80, it was like $70,000 for.
And you can't use mulch or anything anymore.
You can use wood chips
Wood
or
Yeah.
wood fiber.
Just as much, it's tough to maintain though. This is,
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen a few of those playgrounds down in Pennsylvania where my wife's family's from, and a lot of them are peeling up. I don't know how long they've been there, but that stuff doesn't last forever and it's expensive.
Right.
So wood chips you have to bring in every year, but
not a big deal, yeah.
a lot cheaper.
So does anyone have any, Barbara, is there anything else you wanted to share on this or
No,
thoughts?
more information would be, I'd be more helpful if I had a little bit more information, but, I think that, kind of what you see is what you got and you gotta work with it. So, and my only thing was, let's make the entrance, the front
Mm.
door more fun.
That's nice.
Yeah, more inviting.
Did you do, as part of this work, did you do any work on, potential trail development or kiosks or anything along the adjoining trails?
No, I just, other than very, very lightly, that yellow dash line.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the core,
Mhm.
the core walk, and then I haven't really looked at the rest of the property yet.
Are there needs around all the sentinel wells and wellheads there? Do they need to be like protected and things need to go around them and
Yeah,
whatnot? Because they're all,
when we actually start getting like trails down there and everything and want people to go down there, we probably have to start putting like a little gate or something around it.
Those wells have caps that are padlocked.
they do,
Yep.
but not much can happen with them. I was curious to know if we had to do something.
We don't have to do anything, but it might just be better so that there's no vandalism on them.
Mhm.
Or we, make the trails away from them,
Yeah.
keep them as bushy in the bushy areas as possible. So.
The trails are like,
Attention.
from my perspective and what you see, sort of regionally. The trails will be the single best draw to the place. Walking trails with the ability to go down, walk along the water, a little 1.1 mile loop and a little kiosk. And here's the trail and it's Midcoast Conservancy or it's whoever. help assist us with that. That pulls in a lot of people and it really provides something nice to the community. We can have, we can develop that as much as we wanted to preserve our future interests, but for the meantime, it just needs to be a maintained trail, little guide, and that really draws a lot of people. All this stuff is great. It's all really expensive, and some of this, all these things we're planning feel like a bit of an obstacle sometimes. Let's get her done, get in there, preserve our future interests to do any of this stuff, but doing all of this, like right off the bat, it's like, is it ever gonna happen? Doesn't feel like it. This doesn't.
So
Are we
we had talked about doing it in stages, starting with the trail and the cap and going from
You've been
there
doing
over the
that.
course of
You can do-
several years, yeah.
And doing the cap and painting, what's gonna happen in there to kind of get people
That's a
to
great
start
idea.
envisioning it,
Yeah.
start to raise money in that way, Could be, it'd be, you put an invite out to the artist to submit something and to do it. It could be really fun. And we have you fly in with your, whatever that gadget is, your drone, and then take some pictures and raise some money. Yeah, but I think you're right, doing a trail system and mulching it first. And making sure that front parking is safe, then that's good bookends to start the whole project.
Oh. If there's no other thoughts, one thing we just need to do is. Get a concept out to Pine Tree and have them start working on it, because it's gonna take some time, but. There are some grants that can help with this. But we can't do it until we get the study done, and the town did approve the study done last year, so. And he's ready, we just need to get him a plan.
When you say the study done, is that what you guys are producing?
Well, the study would be. An engineering study to see what it would take to get the cap done for what we're,
So what you're asking Pine Tree to do?
yes.
Okay.
Bob,
But they would appreciate a bit more detail than Barbara's been able to provide, because
that's fine.
she needs more information to do her thing. And do we have that available for her? And does she walk away from this meeting with a firmer idea?
So Barbara,
Well, do you have any, you said you had a survey?
I do have a Lancer.
Okay. Well, that would be good. And then like hearing about the gazebo interest is a first for me. So, and what do we envision happening at the gazebo? I mean, just like,
It's a pavilion, not a gazebo.
I was gonna say there's a difference.
Yeah, it's a farmer's market concept and a bigger flea market.
Slab with a pole on it.
Art
Yeah.
market,
Right.
multi-use
So
covered
multi-use
thing.
space.
so it's big.
With solar cells on top.
So it's not something that
Yeah,
just the
could have
band
solar.
plays at and
Right.
people sit around on the lawn.
Like,
Could be that.
No, 40 by 60 slab, something, won't go much smaller than that.
Okay.
And a pole structure.
So that could accommodate solar panels.
Sure.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
this is good info.
And Bob, to answer your question, I did talk with Rob earlier. This would be fine, actually. Like if we want to send this in, he could start getting to work on this.
Right, but I think if you give Barbara another whack at it, she'll have a little more flesh to it so that
Yeah, I
he
think
can,
I'd like to do it with a scale in hand.
yeah.
Yeah. That would be good. But what's your time frame? Your schedule?
I don't really have a time frame. I'm just giving the update that Pine Tree just needs a concept and that's it.
Would you be interested in joining the committee? That way you get all the information that comes around throughout the month,
Right.
keep you updated. I mean, it's just an idea,
How
but
often do you guys meet?
once a month,
Maybe.
4:30 on the first on Monday.
That's a nice reasonable time.
Clearly you're
You,
free.
you won't be pressured to join today.
Yeah. Let's get to the next stage and we'll decide. Right? It's already like,
No pressure.
the planning board is enough, kind of.
If you were to fine tune this and
Mhm.
send it to Max and he distributed it to all of us before the next meeting,
Mhm.
is that too informal?
No,
Well, I was thinking attempt for one more meeting, maybe. If,
Yeah.
well,
Okay.
let's put it this way. If it looks like anything's gonna be that different,
Mhm.
I would come. Otherwise, we'll do it. We'll just, okay, you guys are all quick studies. That make sense?
Yep.
So and you can get this to me in the next couple of days.
Yep, I can get you the land surveys.
Yeah. So 40 by 60 pavilion, okay. 40 by 60, 20 by 60, you were saying?
How large a pavilion?
Asking.
Well, I just threw out 40 by 60. That was very
Yeah,
random number.
that's.
Let's get the open space
Once you
one,
have the
kind of uncountable.
dimensions to work with, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
yourself.
30 by 60,
40 by 80.
40 by 80. All right, we got 40 by 8, we're gonna give, okay, who's gonna give it a 50? 50, got 50, 50 by 100.
Pavilion that covers.
So-
Cap.
There you go.
There you go.
We had a board.
This pavilion, someplace I'd put an ice rink later
Yeah,
under a roof,
exactly.
and I vote 50 by 100.
Yeah, exactly.
Not because I want a 50 by 100, but because my 30 by 60 will fit underneath. it.
Nicely.
You go.
How many posts?
Yeah, they come
put boards up.
Double this.
Because I have all the stuff.
Features.
I mean, that would be amazing.
I don't-
Oh, God.
Yeah.
But I also need it next to
Right.
lights and water.
Farmers
water,
markets or
Right.
events.
Which is why they're convenient.
That's great.
Open
I
market.
see a lot of digging.
The shovel it off. The best part about the pavilion would be I wouldn't have to shovel it under a roof.
It would
Probably
be,
need side curtains or something though to keep.
I mean, I've had to shovel up a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a-
if it, I have it out here, if it snows this much, I
Mhm.
gotta shovel the whole thing off.
and there's a serious economy of scale. I mean, for a huge one is, much less per square foot
Yeah.
than, like the 40 by 60, which is also pretty big, but man, we could go big and it would not be bad. I mean, it's something we could figure out a price for that in an hour.
Well, if that's the only thing happening here in the winter time, you could go in the park.
So far.
Oh, you can go curling too, you know?
Look at my room.
We can
You first, Bob.
give Belfast a run for their money.
Yeah,
Well, preserving our future interest to do stuff like that
yeah.
under there would be awesome. It doesn't mean it can't be used for tiny farmers markets, but then we're like, wow, look how much we could grow, and you could just
Right.
the whole or whatever.
Or other kinds of open
Well,
markets.
yes,
Yeah.
whatever, it could be, an art fair or whatever.
A yard sale.
Waldeboro Day.
Well, and people sometimes rent out those kinds
Right,
of
yes.
facilities
Like
for
a big-
family events, group events, something.
Yep.
To where it could also be generating revenue to pay for some of the maintenance of it.
I mean, it's gorgeous back in those woods, man. It's
nice.
so nice. It could completely be like a low key wedding venue. I mean, just could if someone wanted to rent it. It's nice.
The pickleball.
Stunning trees in there.
Silent.
Beautiful.
So
Nice
it'd
stuff.
be more interesting to have the solar on a roof like this.
And to have-
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, it's a great use of that slope.
Yeah.
which means that it's.
Orient it thoughtfully,
Yeah.
outward facing, big slope.
Rather than having.
One of the ulterior motives I would think would be to, attract younger people to the town. This might be one way of encouraging that. We're not just here for old fogies like me.
Right.
you know.
Which is why I love seeing the playground.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Playground's great.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, new ideas.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say, Bob?
I'm just talking about myself.
You're talking about us versus them.
No,
Those
not at all, not at all. No, no.
All right.
Oh,
Are you an ice skater, Max?
I'd be there more for the tennis courts.
Okay.
Should we move on to the Hobson's house?
Yeah, if everyone wants.
Oh, we talked about last time. We really managed to avoid it this time around.
So,
RFP?
so the select
Barbara,
board,
thank you.
You're welcome. I actually have one thing at 6 o'clock, so I gotta
So I
go.
look at the clock and I
Although
said, I
I'm
bet
kinda
you.
interested in what's going on with Hobson's house, but I guess I'll have to look at the. Recording. All right, well, thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for roughing me.
Okay.
Send you everything later. So yes, RFP. The Mike, Bob, the select board did go for, did authorize a special town meeting, correct?
Correct.
September 1st? Or
Just had it.
Monty is September 8th.
September 8th. So there'll be a special town meeting on September 8th to authorize potential sale for the Hoff's house, just the house, not the lot. And what will happen is the RFP will go out and we'll see what bids we can get for it. But if if the special town meeting approves the warrant article, then we would be able to sell the Hoff's house
Or removal.
or removal. Mike, Bob, if one of you wants to correct anything I said, feel free.
And just, we're a week behind right now. We dated the RFP August 1st.
I was.
Right.
Yeah, it would,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be updated.
But you don't
Okay,
have
so
to
this
wait.
has not, this has not. been
This is not.
published.
Will that go out to anyone who's expressed an interest, or is that a public announcement that people have to know to look for it?
It will be a public announcement, and if there are any interested people, we will send it directly to them as well.
Okay.
And if you have someone to suggest. Yeah,
Dr. Julie or me,
I mean, I would think one would go to Joe, what's his last name? Come on,
Schmo,
sorry,
Joe Schmo.
no.
Now you just
Joe
erased
Kane.
any possibility of him. wearing that.
He's got another one.
Wow,
There's a
funny.
bunch of guys around. I mean, who
Les
went
would
and looked
probably
at
be
it?
interested.
Michael,
Fossil, Les Fossil,
Les Fossil.
he might be interested.
Michael,
So let's also, there was another guy though.
Michael Alderson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
He's the one who
Yes.
offered.
25 grand, right?
Yeah.
No, as in take the house off the property.
Foundation and all, I assume.
That's what it says in here, then yes.
Is it the foundation too?
It ought to,
I-
be. That has a bit more value than everything else. House is pretty rough. It's awfully nice, like steel cut granite, granite foundation. That's where the value is in that. place.
doesn't it disturb the ground?
Well,
Just fill it in.
We. Same
they
thing,
can pluck those.
we send it all to DEP so they can see it and
Okay.
Good lord.
It might be helpful to have a little bit of clarity about that in the RFP.
I agree.
I find myself wondering about it as I was reading.
Yeah, I didn't even.
I wouldn't know what to do
It's
with
in the
it,
foundation.
I
right?
didn't think of the
Yeah.
foundation.
Yeah, it isn't mentioned in.
Yeah,
the
It's
RFP.
It's not, yeah.
So that
It
has
also
to be-
wasn't clear to me in the beginning of the RFP whether the only possibility was dismantling the house.
Thank you.
And
And they have
taking
to make it
pieces away,
All.
and then later on, it started talking about moving. It would be nice to have some clarity up front about what the possibilities are. So maybe DEP needs to weigh in before we issue it. Is that possible? I think.
You don't have to reinvent the wheel with the language, though. There's a lot of real boilerplate stuff out there in terms of how they leave it. Are they seeding it? Leaving it
Right.
beautiful? Because man, there's some fly-by-night guys who
Well,
really
this-
salvage things.
This is going to be an evaluated proposal. This is not going to be a bid.
Mhm.
You know, when we haven't detailed, we do not have detailed specs. It would be very difficult to put complete detailed specs. This will be an evaluated bid by the select board.
Mhm.
And Bob and I have sat in this committee for a long time. I think we would be able to handle our own answering questions on the part of proposers.
Oh, sure. The RFP ought to mandate complete removal. That's my only suggestion there, because I've done this a bunch of times and never.
All these things can be negotiated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's not, if it doesn't meet our needs, we don't have to take
Don't
it.
have to-
Right.
But I still think your point about taking the foundation out is a really important point.
Mhm.
I didn't even, that was not on my radar.
Well, you mentioned it, I think at the last meeting, you
Yeah.
mentioned it. I
Yeah.
remember hearing that.
They have to be able to do that. If the DP doesn't want to do that, we're not going to get anyone to take this house.
I can't imagine they won't, but you never know, as long as the blocks are broom cleaned before they put on the truck. I don't think they would have a problem with taking them
DEP,
off.
but I think DEP just wants to know it's a qualified person doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Licensed, bonded, all that stuff.
You know, a lot of specs I've seen, you know. When you're cleaning out a house and you don't know what's in there, it has to be broom clean. It doesn't have to be scrubbed. It just needs to be broom clean. So as long as there's no soil or oil adhering to the granite blocks, I don't think DEP would have a problem with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either.
Have we absolved ourselves of cleaning the house out? Would that become the responsibility of the person who is taking the
Oh,
house?
yes.
If there's anything else someone wants to take out of there. Once it goes to bid, once someone's accepted it, they get everything in the bill.
Lock, stock and barrel. Bad choice. I had a question, on the conditionally successful proposal negotiation. Let's see, it's like the second or third paragraph. If the town. Let's see, if the town and, proposer do not reach an agreement within a reasonable time frame, should we put something in there? But the interpretation, what's reasonable? With respect to that CSP.
In terms of the removal, is that what you're?
Yeah, if you look at it, it has to be agreed upon based on a reasonable time frame. And I'm just wondering, should that be within that week or within 2 weeks? You know, because some people will try to string you along.
It's implied in a way, because we have a deadline of December 31st in the proposal. So.
It's
it works
applied, but
backward from
Are
that.
we better off just saying, okay, you know, this is when a decision's going to be made?
Well, we've told them when they have to have it in,
Yeah,
and we've indicated that we're gonna be looking at them pretty quickly. after
quickly,
that.
yeah.
So
People love to do this stuff during the winter time because of ground conditions.
Mm.
I don't think we ought to be tying ourselves in a corner here. Some guy might come in and be just what we want. And
Oh,
if
I
he's got
agree.
the house out of there by the end of the year, but leaves the foundation until the middle of February. Do we argue about that? I don't know, but it doesn't
I don't
sound to me like.
I
we
don't,
do.
I wouldn't, but you know,
Yeah.
I'm just, that was the only thing I picked up on.
Do we want, I understand where he's going, that do we want to give them like an absolute
Deadline.
point,
Deadline.
like 2 years or whatever
I
it
mean,
might be?
There is a
Pick
deadline,
one.
deadline. I actually wanted to extend it, but we decided against that ultimately. It's December 31st. It's gotta be done.
Oh.
And
Aggressive.
if
That seems implausible to
Well,
we're trying to move this project along, the house is getting worse every month it's out there. I wanted to have it a fixed time period after proposal is accepted. If we accept it on December 30th, then he has 1 day to do it. That didn't seem fair, but this is a proposal. We
It
can
is. It's
negotiate
not a
this.
contract.
We can negotiate this.
I mean, you don't want to
Deadlines
eliminate.
to be extended.
The people who are good at this are really busy, and some people say, I have to do by December 31st. Not even gonna put a proposal in.
Right.
that's right.
It's an unreasonable time frame. From
Well,
my
the other-
perspective,
the
I
other
know
one-
it sounds good and we want to push it, but from the building standpoint, I mean. I hear you and I agree, but you might lose some good folks because of that. That's aggressive.
The
It's
other-
not, we're not even working on this until September. So when's the decision gonna be made? Will it be then October 1st? So, I mean, I hear you, getting it done fast is awesome and want to incentivize it. Whole bunch of people saying, great, we'll do it. We're not paying you anything. We'll do it for free. They might be the best
Well,
people.
the-
Are you
the
ready
other-
for those proposals?
The other wild card is the DEP.
Mhm.
They typically drag their feet on stuff. And so be cognizant of that too.
Right. I do agree getting it out fast. I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
No,
It's like
I think
some
it's
guys
great.
might be-
If we can make it,
We-
because
we
we're in the
have-
middle of what, you know,
We have in the first paragraph, 1.1 said, if we've used the word must be completed, maybe we ought to soften that a little bit to give everybody a little rope. And I hear Mike, I mean, I agree with you on putting that house stand there. It's not gonna be worth 2 cents.
I mean, we're scheduling new projects for fall of 24 at the absolute earliest, and that's probably not reasonable. We're probably more spring of 25 before we can break ground on new things. So big outfits that can do this, they're gonna have a hard time with that.
Well,
But you're right.
Well,
maybe
even
we'll do
some
it.
of the
after
smaller.
2 years of rain like we've had this year,
Yeah.
it's gonna fall down.
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. It's not gonna be that hard. The right people coming in and doing it, it's gonna be gone fast.
But to his point, most of the people, even Michael Ellerson, I'm sure has projects already booked.
Right.
So if he wants to do it and puts his bid in, he may not be able to get to it till the spring. That's just the reality of the construction business, right?
So I'll talk with Julie about amending the RFP so that 12/31/2023 would be a an ideal date, but we will listen to people who can't do it by that time and maybe
Yeah.
extend it.
As long as you're open to it, that's all
Yeah.
I'm saying. This, because you might have like a really
then-
good person says, oh,
Yeah.
shit.
Timeline-
Again, if this,
Yeah.
they're gonna see this is a request for proposals
Yeah.
and they can't do it, they're gonna say, here's our conditional proposal.
I hope you're right.
Or they
I
just
agree.
won't say
They've
no.
done it enough often enough, and they're worth their salt, they'll point that out.
Do you have a minimum amount you want, or you just want it going?
You know, and, you know, I've been on a lot of projects and I've always qualified, I've sent in proposals that were qualified. You want the job, you can get it. You can take exception. My proposal is conditioned on this. You gotta give me 3 months to do it,
Right.
you know, or something like that.
Yeah, as long as you're open to that, that's not.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page with that.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Totally.
Do you guys have dollar figures in mind at this point? Or you're not even thinking about dollar figures or anything? in
We
terms-
just have to see what bids come.
I would like to see it erected somewhere in this town and get it back on the tax base. That's my biggest priority.
Ooh. Is that mandated in?
It's not mandated,
No.
but that would be
Sweet.
my,
That
that
would
would be my preference.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
The select board will get to decide if when they're looking at all the RFPs, they might choose the one that gave the highest bid, they might choose the second highest one, but they get to stay in Waldeboro.
Right.
That was
Yes,
just-
all of the things equal, that would be an item pretty high on the list.
That would be high on the
Yeah.
list. If it could stay in the town, that would be top notch from a lot of reasons.
The best outfit that's gonna be able to do all that and say, great, we'll take it away for free. So they're gonna say, that'll be your best proposal.
Right.
And you need to be ready to say yes to that.
Well, Mike's
Costs a lot. to
Mike's
move that son of a
proposal
bitch.
had the town paying
Yeah,
$75,000, right? Yeah.
Anything
was-
else better?
Nuts.
So
How much is the slate worth?
On the roof,
Slate roof,
a little bit.
you know?
It's about a wash with the asbestos shingles on the outside.
Okay,
But yeah, that's a pretty dandy roof up there.
it's a nice roof.
Yes, it is. I agree.
The granite blocks are worth something for
All right.
the foundation.
So the RFP will address the foundation item. Be clear that it's about removing and not demolition. Update reasonable period of time and then trying to soften that 12/31/2023 deadline. But make sure that's still sort of a key item to keep. All right. And any other questions on the RFP or should I move to the asbestos study? Okay.
I'm excited when this-
So I spoke with Craig from. I can't remember which group it was, but Gail, you suggested him or you. When the.
Oh, on the
I can't,
Joe DeStefano, the list,
Yes.
the list that he gave us.
yeah, it was on, he was on that list.
Okay.
When I talked to him about doing the asbestos examination. He gave me some interesting figures. He said it would probably be about $40 per test site that we do. And it would be maybe 3 for each test site we were looking at. So,
Joe had said 20 to 25, I believe.
yeah,
Is that what you remember, Patty?
On Michael's?
No. Well, you weren't there. I think it was just me and Carl. Never mind. Yeah, he'd said 20 or 25 bucks testing.
when I talked with this individual,
Yeah.
he said that the $20 would be for the test, but that doesn't include all the travel time, doesn't include a lot of factors that then brings it up to 40. So, whether it's him or me reaching out to some other different groups, I guess the question is, should we still go on with this asbestos study, or is the RFP kind of, if someone's gonna just take the building anyways, do we wanna just?
How many total samples at $40?
you
How
know,
many? Is it 10 samples, 400 bucks?
It might have been, I think it was about 10 or so. I remember he was getting up to 1,000 or more at this point for doing it. We have, and keep in mind, we do have the grant money from Lincoln County, but that was gonna be, the budget was 300 for the asbestos test. And then the rest of it was gonna go towards the capping of the site. So the more we put into the asbestos, the less, I mean, the town did approve the money to go towards the capping from the Friendship Street School sale. So that's just all the different factors to keep in.
So what the guy from DEP told us was
Yeah.
that if we're going to do any of this, they would require that this study be done, that it might.
That if we're selling it, that.
Right, so doing it preemptively was one thing, but once we decided what to do, it was. They would just require it, so I think again, it's a call to DEP, if we've got to do it, we've got to do it, and it feels to me like for the. Town's due diligence, knowing what's there, so we know what to expect a contractor to have to. Leave behind and clean up, seems like. It just seems like the right thing.
Yeah, it makes a
Yeah.
cleaner proposal too.
Yeah,
And it makes us look good.
which wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
No. Doesn't happen to me all that often. but-
Oh, we're not being sneaky about it. No, it's
Yeah.
being right up front about it. And we've done the work. This is
Yeah.
what it is.
Anybody who goes over and sees that building and sees the asbestos cement siding knows he's got an asbestos remediation project on his
And
hands.
it's
Yeah,
nice to help define it.
right,
So
like
we
this is
put our
what it
best
is.
foot forward.
Right.
It's the least offensive kind of asbestos, actually.
Is it?
Well, I think there's some,
It's all
I
consolidated.
think there's some boiler asbestos downstairs.
There's a little
isn't
bit
there?
inside as well,
That's the-
yeah.
that's the
Boiler.
difference.
That's tough.
and some-
Boiler.
And
That-
some,
Yeah,
That needs
maybe sealing.
sealing off the room and
Yeah.
vacuum HEPA filters and
because it's not consolidated and
Yeah.
it's dusty. Yeah, that stuff will mess you right up.
siding, as long as you take it off pretty much intact,
Mhm.
you don't even need you need a mask, but you don't need the whole suit and everything.
Yeah, it's really
And
bomb.
the same's true with like vinyl asbestos tile, but that boiler insulation, that's the
Yeah.
killer.
Like terrible.
All right, so I'll talk.
Is there any boiler insulation down there? Has anybody been in the cellar?
I have been in the cellar and I don't, I wasn't looking for that. I actually don't recall about it. It'd be surprising if there isn't any. But I don't
He
remember it.
thought it was likely.
How about that tiny little brick room in the basement with the window in it? It is like super Stephen King, man. Like, what was this?
The tiny
A
little.
wine cellar.
I get like.
I don't know. I think it was like a torture room.
I get a different answer for that.
Pesca of Amontillado.
I get a different answer for that.
Edgar
every time I
Allan
talk
Poe.
to people. Like,
Jeez.
Some say it was a full room, some say.
Oh,
Trips into the twilight.
And like a little bench in it. It's like someone's little certain spot. All the good ideas.
Yeah, crazy friends, it's on it. They do weird
Wine
things.
cellar and sauna. I think it was neither, but they will sound good.
You never know.
So I do have one last item, the UMO students. I got a response from Edwin, who runs the program. He just wanted to be sure that town was still interested in giving some civil engineers a project for the upcoming year. I think I sent it in the email what the potential projects could be for them, but I didn't know if anyone had any other thoughts, things to remove. And mostly it was trails and something to help with where the pavilion could go, better access to get to that lower field. So that it doesn't have to go all the way around. There could be like some footbridge or some stairwell that could go down from the parking lot. If that's something we want to have down the line, it's just them doing it for free for us.
Would it be too much to have them do like 2, 3, and 4? So basically dealing with the area that's not part of the pad?
So what's gonna happen is, we're just telling them all the things we'd love to see done with the site. And if there's, 3 students who are interested in it, they'll just pick one of those projects, but we might have a case where a bunch of students look at this project and say, oh, let's all jump in on this, and then we might have all of those projects done. Because that's what happened to us a few years ago, where we had 3 or 4 projects. And we had so many students interested in those projects, they just did all those projects for us.
Yay. Well, that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, as much as they want to do.
So that's why I'm curious if there's any additional projects or something you don't want to do.
Such an exciting way to get some of the stuff done. I think it's awesome.
We just need to keep in mind that they're probably not gonna, well, they're gonna define the scope by December, so anything between now and then, anything that changes, we're gonna tell them about it. So the Hofstas house, if the Hofstas house is removed by December, or it's going to be, we know it's gonna be removed, that'll be integrated in their project scope of work. And then by April, we'll probably get some presentations done.
And would you share Barbara's concepts with them as well?
Again, yeah. Although I don't think I had them really focusing on the capped area. It was gonna be more of around the
Right,
Sylvania
yeah.
site. So I'll still send it just to have preference or preference.
In your notes, there was something about reducing the access curbs.
Yeah. So.
Bringing it down just to one and then a secondary one for emergency.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up Barbara's concept plan. So if you do look at any of the Sylvania maps we have. Technically, there's 3 entrances. There's
Right.
this one at the very northern end, there's this one in the middle, and then there's the one at the Hofstas house.
Right.
Yeah,
So I consider all 3 connected points until the fate of Hofstas house is decided. I would bet that DOT does not want us to keep all 3 entrance points and would like us to close off at least one of them.
well, the most logical one would be the Hofstas house.
Right. But then, do we also close off the second one as well? I'm in the mindset of seeing if this could be more of an emergency access route, so that if, this is where the general public will go in the top corner here. But if something's happening closer to the courts, or if, Sylvania needs to access the.
Yeah,
ground
that's
level
where
every day,
Leadvance brings its trucks in, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, then they'd be able to go through here without disturbing the crowd.
Or fire.
Or, well, yes, that too.
I mean, with that wooded area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Don't say that.
No, he's right.
Sorry,
No, you're all right. No, I agree.
but
Could just be a loop. and
Right.
in and
That-
out,
yeah,
in
that's
and
true
out,
too.
or a double.
That's,
Yeah,
that's
it's actually
another
a really
option. You
good idea
enter
for
in one
safety,
side, you
probably.
go out the other. So that's what we're asking the students to do, look
Yeah.
at what they would suggest.
Very
for
good idea.
The parking situation. Yeah.
You could also ask them to comment on Barbara's concepts.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a new idea. I mean,
Right.
other than that, you either like it or you don't like it, but my gosh, if it's not on the table, then it's not being considered.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what,
what are you saying? You're trying to bring that young blood into this?
Exactly, yeah.
it might be more. Them doing a concept similar to what Pine Tree is gonna be, so they'll take Barbara's concept and they'll probably do a cap similar to what Pine Tree is doing. And it's more of, oh, let's see how they do against, the certified engineer.
Right.
Yeah, why not? It's free.
Mhm.
Well, it's free.
Well-
We're all
well-
paying for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be more of a benefit for the student, but
Yeah.
we at least get to get that different.
Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, I think it's so cool. Actually, they might come up with stuff that we didn't even imagine, right? That would appeal to their demographic or something. So the land is completely open to the public right now? All of it? You can just pull in and walk around, do whatever you want, and there's no, I mean, that's sort of how we treat it. I mean, Robin and I traipse all over it, but we're walking from our land through it. So like anyone can go in there now and just walk around. Is that correct?
I've done it myself.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it's the case, but I was just
Right.
wondering if there's any.
It's just not one of those promoted things, so.
Right, right. Oh, yeah, I'm not suggesting I'm gonna promote it, but I'm just sort of wondering.
It's like, it's like up at Quarry Hill, like,
Mhm.
I'm promoting that you can go pick blueberries up there anytime because it's safe to go do that. I'm not promoting people to jump off from the top of the quarry into the water because I don't want to get sued.
And we do own it, but we're live,
Mhm.
so. I think it's keep it quiet.
Oh, yeah, I'm not talking about promoting it. I'm just when I see people poking around, are they
Right.
trespassing?
Oh,
Are they
no,
gonna- Yeah, that's my only point. This, I wasn't gonna like throw out an ad or anything.
walking around, it's fine. If they're dumping trash there, then, who do we get? John Daigle, they'll probably shake some heads.
Mm.
Oh, I was gonna say like a private thing.
A lot of deer carcasses get dumped back there.
Is that right?
Yeah, a few, probably the same person, but.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, dead deer. Then I realized like all the important parts were gone. It's like, oh,
You know where else I saw a dead deer? You know where the eel farm is, that business park, right across the road is the river.
Yeah.
And there were 5 or 6 deer carcasses the last time I went down to fish there.
This time of year?
No, this was last summer,
Oh,
not this past summer, but
because
last.
it's not deer season and you're finding deer carcasses, something is amiss. Or whatever in terms of poaching. Hmm.
That's all I had. Business.
Anyone have anything else for the evening?
I got a quick question. Will we ever have access to the river?
Like boat access?
Either boat access or canoe or whatever?
It's really nice
It's a
running.
long haul down a steep embankment to get a canoe in.
Yeah, I think that got
You've got the town. landing.
squashed.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but I'm,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just thinking out loud. You know,
Wasn't that didn't we say, somebody say that was a restricted area down there
No,
that
they-
you couldn't go in
It's
the river?
not-
They're restricted for clam flats. They're not-
Right.
They're restricted for use.
And
yeah,
and the shellfish folks were not interested in having additional erosion from the area.
I would agree.
Yeah,
No,
so
I'm
the,
just
so the
curious.
plan for the trail was to have.
There is a nice
have
gully.
vision of, have a view of the river, but not.
Yeah, I don't want to get shot. I know some of those
Yeah.
guys.
I could ask you most students to see if there's a recreation way of doing this.
You know, it's,
There's the one on-
I mean, there is good access to the river down in there, down a nice gully. It's like, it's right by our boundary line. It's how we go to it. Sort of share a little creek that goes down through there and it's really nice to a big rocky outcropping.
Hmm.
I'm not saying needs to happen, but it's definitely doable. So. It's nice.
I guess we probably ought to walk before we run.
It'd be neat to preserve our future interest to, think about something like that sometimes, because it
I
is
throw it out there.
stunning. Eagle nest right across the river. It's crazy. So nice.
So just looking at September's meeting. The first Monday will be Labor Day. Not September 4th. The next Monday would be September 11th. Don't know if you guys want to reschedule to that or if you want to reschedule to a different day. And the special town meeting is September 8th, correct?
Fast.
Meeting at the end of August.
Yeah,
this month?
like, is there anything pressing where meeting before Labor Day would be better than pushing it to the 11th?
It might be,
That can't be done
it
via
might be
email.
nice to have the
To
result
have
of
the
that
results, right?
town meeting for
Mhm.
the next meeting.
I was gonna say, if we want to try and push something before the town meeting, I think the only reason we meet again in August would be if Barbara can update her concept plan by then, but if she can't, then. we'll wait until later in September.
And if we need to do something via email or whatever, that would be an option too. Something needed to be shared.
Does anyone have a preferred rescheduled date? For September?
I make a motion to make it September 11th.
Second.
All right.
All in favor?
4:30.
We can't make it like at 5.
We can always change the time.
So I thought we were having them early because somebody always needed the room afterward. Is that
It
not
was
the
the
case?
250th Worldboro Day. And they're all
They're
set
done.
now.
They're done.
Yeah, Jim would know that.
Yes, I would.
So we're gonna do
folks-
5.
Do folks want it later?
What are
But
people's
coming
thoughts?
in after it, anything?
There's nothing after you guys on Monday nights anymore.
That'd be better.
Well, I remember you,
Everybody else.
Patty, didn't you bring it up last time? And wouldn't it be nice to be at 5? So it's kind of like on the
Well,
hour.
I only said 4 was tough if somebody on the committee was working.
Yeah.
But
Right.
then
Oh,
to try to get
okay.
here.
Well, even
by
at 4:30.
We just
working.
did to 4:30.
and
What about Max and work though? I mean. You're staying late
Already.
to be with us here.
I'm working till 6 anyways on these nights, so I
It
don't.
doesn't really matter.
Doesn't
4:30 is a little better, just because
Just-
if it affects anybody else, it's matter to me.
I'm retired. I'm retired.
Cool.
5 o'clock, we'll see how it goes.
4:30, no.
4:30.
4:30?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can do it. Can do it.
4:30.
I was right in the middle of something. And it's just, oh, man. Yeah, yeah, when you try to put a water line in the back of a toilet.
All right.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Beautiful.
Shall we adjourn?
Second.
Yeah, motion.